Hello and welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Allie Moen, the marketing manager here at System One. We have a fantastic broadcast for you today. We'll be talking about developing your personal and professional brand. But before diving in, a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, and the UK. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon for Sound Off with System One. As you're tuning in, please hop in the comments. Let us know where you're joining from, what industry you work in, and if you have any questions that you'd like to ask our panel of experts here about developing your personal and professional brand, drop those in there as well. I do have some members of our marketing team monitoring those, and we'll get to as many live questions as we can today for you. So now I'd like to have my expert panel introduce themselves and share a hot job that they're recruiting for. So Colleen, let's start with you.
Thanks, Allie. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Losowitz, recruiting manager of Joule's national accounts team. My team focuses on contract staffing for positions within the life sciences field. And I've been with Joule for a little over 3 years now, and I'm based out of our Edison, New Jersey branch. The hot job I'd like to talk about today is an exciting opportunity that we have with one of our thriving healthcare systems throughout the Minnesota area. These are permanent full-time medical lab technologist or medical lab scientist positions in multiple locations, roughly across the Minneapolis area. They have multiple shifts available, shift differentials, and sign-on bonuses. They're looking for candidates who have a minimum of an associate's degree in a medical laboratory science, a current ASCP or AMT certification, and a minimum of 2 years working within blood banking. So if you're looking to learn more about this position, they are looking to have candidates interview and start as soon as possible. So connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks, Colleen. That job information can be found at the bottom of the screen and in the comments section, and you can search by that job ID number by scanning the QR code in the top corner of your screen or by going to jobs.systemone.com. Now, Alex, let's head down to you.
Hi, I'm Alexandria. I am a scientific recruiter with Joule Staffing, supporting the Blue Bell branch out in Pennsylvania, remotely working in Denver. I've been with the Joule team for 2 years now, and my hot job that we have is with an expanding clinical client throughout Pennsylvania for an operational room nurse. This is a direct hire opportunity with sign-on bonuses as well as relocations assistance for you. So if you would like to check it out, have any questions, please feel free to direct message me here on LinkedIn as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Again, that job info is in the comments, and you can search by job ID by scanning the QR code at the top of the screen. And last but certainly not least, Lauren.
Hi, my name's Lauren Spano. I am on the nuclear energy recruiting team here with System One, and I've been on board for about 2 years as well. The hot job that I have today is for an inside sales engineer. Now, this is not a salesperson. This would be somebody with a technical engineering background, familiar with the nuclear industry, familiar with the vendors of the nuclear industry would be fantastic. This person is going to maintain the current clients for our customer and handle, their design needs, their spec needs, their quoting needs, but also, be available to take on new customers for that role as well. So a technical engineer who has migrated to the vendor management side or the inside sales side is who I am targeting. And this job is located in Fort Worth, Texas, and it would provide relocation assistance if that's an option for you. And yes, please connect with me on LinkedIn and message me too. Sorry.
No, you're good. We love the plug. Connect with all of the experts here. Their contact information and all of their hot jobs are in the comments. You can search all of the open opportunities with System One and with Joule at jobs.systemone.com. So now let's get into the topic of the day, and that is developing your personal and professional brand. But first off, what is a personal brand? What is a professional brand? I know when we say that, it might seem like a bit of an abstract concept. So a little background before we get into some Q&A with the experts here. A personal brand can refer to your image, perception, and reputation that you create for yourself. It's who you are, what you stand for, your values, skills, passions, how you present yourself to the world. And this can all be expressed through your actions, your behavior, online presence, and how you communicate. A professional brand is going to specifically focus on your reputation and identity within a professional context. So, how you're perceived in the workplace and within your industry. This can include your expertise, your skills, work ethic, the value that you bring to your job and industry, and your professional conduct. These are all very important and crucial for career growth, networking, and establishing credibility within your field. So in essence, both personal and professional branding is going to be about crafting and managing the way that you are perceived by others. So with that background in mind, Colleen, I'm going to come to you to kick us off today with a question about personal branding. So what are the key elements of an effective personal brand?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, authenticity is going to be the key to making your personal brand a success. If you aren't passionate or behind the things that you want your brand to center around 100%, people will look up on that and not get behind you. So I think if you're not authentic in what you're sharing or creating content about, it's not going to connect with people, because creating a brand is about inspiring those with similar beliefs. And then you want to inspire them with your beliefs and convictions. So not being authentic with that is just not going to help you create a successful brand. I think on top of that, being consistent with what you share and how often you share is going to lead to better brand growth and a better following. So what you share can definitely evolve over time to adjust to your business strategies, your point of view, whatever it may be. But I think if you remain that consistency throughout your growth and your new perspectives, you're maintaining your credibility and you're continuing to launch your brand's growth forward. And then I think finally, just telling a story. So the more engaging your content is, the more your brands will grow. So by telling a story through your content, it'll help your followers, first of all, learn about who you are, what you stand for, and then it'll make them want to follow you and learn more from you. So it'll help them to keep coming back to look at your page, to see what you'll share next. And then it'll help them to refer you to their friends, their family, which will only make your brand more effective and help your network grow.
I'd like to. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Alex.
I'd like to elaborate a little bit on that. Colleen, thank you so much. When it comes to the authentic part, add the authenticity when it comes to integrity. And for me, that lies into my why and keeping that as my core foundation as I grow and evolve when it comes to my personal brand. First, ask myself questions as to what is my why? What am I standing for when it comes to my authenticity and how I stand in the truth of that authenticity, and to be able to span that out for others. Also being mindful as to who is my target audience, my target network, and be able to speak to them and see how they respond back.
Yeah. And, great tips from Colleen and Alex there. But also, I think that especially in the job market and, lots of companies are going through layoffs, I think it's so important to remember that your personal brand gets investigated sometimes by employers. So your personal brand does need to hold a tiny level of professionalism. Definitely be consistent, like Colleen said, but you're also growing. We're all going through a journey. So if your interests and, path changes, be open about that. If that's what you want to do. Now, certainly be true to who you are. So if you are an introvert, you don't have to share every detail about your life. You absolutely don't. Some people are extroverts, or that's how they connect with their audience. So they do put it all out there. And I think that it's important to remember that both ways of approaching your personal brand on social media are as important. So if you're on the one side where, you know, you're putting content out there, everything about your personal life, that's great, as long as that's something that you can maintain consistently. And then if you're on the opposite side where you're like, I'm alive every once in a while, that's fine too. If that's who you are, that's fine too. But it's important to make known the things you are interested in. Like Alex was saying, you know, if you're interested in, you know, some introvert things, gaming, computers, technology, things like that, you know, those are things, groups you can join, hashtags you can follow, things you can share with your audience without having to come up with something to say. You know, and the things that you're into, the things that you specialize in, those are going to be the ways that you can engage with people like-minded. So I think keep that in mind as you try to build your personal brand, that, you know, you do want to be mindful of that. Employers look at that for candidates, but also be yourself. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Great advice from all of you. Alex, I'm going to come to you for my second question here. How can one identify their unique strengths and use them to build their brand?
Yeah, this is a great question. One suggestion that someone's given to me that helped me when it came to my personal and professional brand is being able to know my audience, not being afraid to ask my network, my personal network, my family, or even the people on my LinkedIn social media, and going a little bit beyond that, not being afraid to get boots on the ground, go and ask maybe in my community, certain places, and say, you know, from the relationships that we have had, you know, what are some strengths that you have seen when it came to how I help or how I can be a resource for you for X, Y, Z, and just being open to receive whatever may come to you as professional criticism to help tailor and critique your brand as you grow.
Yeah, and I think to that point, just in terms of connecting with your current network of friends and family, there's a lot of tools that you can use out there. So, for example, on LinkedIn, there's sections on your LinkedIn page where you can ask for recommendations from friends and family. I know, you know, as a recruiter, when I have somebody that converts or, you know, ends up moving on to a different position, I always ask for a recommendation of how we work together, what they thought of, you know, our time together, because good or bad, I love to grow from that feedback. And it also, you know, great recommendations are just, again, another way to build your personal brand, because, you know, as we all know with small businesses and things like that, word of mouth is what keeps those going. So you have to consider yourself, your personal brand, as kind of that small business. Also on LinkedIn, there's the skills section where you can list out what you think your strengths are, and then people can endorse you on those. So just a couple things, you know, on LinkedIn and other platforms that you can use to just continue to grow your personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Great tips, Colleen. And I want to kind of piggyback off of that. If you don't know how to express your strengths, which for me personally, that's a struggle. I have a hard time saying things that I'm good at because I'm so critical of myself. So if you're that type, I want to encourage you to seek out some assessments that can help you understand yourself better and the way that your brain works. Because a lot of those assessments, you think you should know about yourself, right? But you learn something new. And for me, it gave me words and ways to phrase how my mind works, how I function, how my strengths can be beneficial in the workplace, things like that. So if you haven't taken, you know, whatever it is, Enneagram test, you know, personality assessment, DISC assessment, Gallup study, Strengths Finders, all of those things are great to do. If you, especially like I saw the question pop up that Gina asked about just starting out with your personal brand. That is a great way to start, Gina. if you are trying to figure out what to say, how to say it, what are you going to do? Take some assessments, figure out how you work. If you want to merge, I saw somebody else said that they had a blend of personal and professional in their the same platform. That's great. If that's who you are, express yourself that way for sure. But that's also an advantage, because as you learn about yourself to identify those areas where you excel, it's also, a nice little plug into the professional side for when employers, are actively seeking, or recruiters are actively seeking on, LinkedIn, and you have your website in there. That is a great strategy. Another note to Gina about just starting out: start slow. Don't challenge yourself to post stuff 3 times a day. That's advanced level branding. So start slow. I mean, if you can make it a goal to, post something original from yourself once a week, and also post something where you share it with your audience, maybe reposting an article that you found interesting, and just say, hey, read this today, thought it was really great. Let me know what you think. Try, maybe set a goal for one original post a week, and then one repost where you add your thoughts a week. And then once you get consistent and you start getting traction and understanding, just how it works, and you'll start to see from other people too. If you follow the different hashtags and the different influencers, they're going to be able to give you great advice on branding and marketing and job searching. So, as you start slow, also be a learner, soak up everything you can about building that brand, and keep it in line with you, who you are. Be true to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And before continuing on with our questions, Lauren, I think you need to either start a blog or write a book, because you have so much great insight and information.
That's so sweet.
But before we keep going to my next question, Colleen or Alex, did you have any other additional tips for someone who is just kind of starting out with developing their brand? Or did Lauren kind of hit the nail on the head?
I feel like she hit the nail on the head. I feel like starting slow is key. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, so starting out with just, one post a day, or one post every other day, or whatever it is, and maybe resharing, if that's how you want to start off. If you don't think that you're that creative right off the bat, you could always share what somebody else has with some of your own thoughts. I think slow and steady wins the race. So I definitely think that was great advice, Lauren.
Thank you.
And there's one more thing I'd like to say is don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to evolve. That's how you're going to grow. And most importantly, that's how you're going to connect to your audience in the long run, and not get so stuck into instant gratification. Having that balance in between as to what's in front of you and your long-term goal when it comes to your foundation of your why.
So important, Alex. Thank you for bringing that up. It's definitely a long game. You're in it for the long haul. And don't get discouraged without that instant gratification.
Yep. All right, Lauren, I hope you had enough of a break, because I'm coming to you for my next question here. So we're still on personal brand. How can someone maintain a personal brand while navigating multiple professional interests or career changes?
Yeah. So I think that, the best way to handle that, and this is, from me, for my personality, from the way I see personal branding, is to be honest. Everybody changes. We are all on a journey. So, say you worked in luxury retail and you were super into fashion for a while, and then you pivot into a corporate role and you start changing and learning things on the corporate side. And that's great. You can still have the interest of, something totally different, but that stuff will kind of start to decrease as you be intentional about learning about your new industry, learning things about your new role, about, the competitors, about what's going on in the news, things like that. So I guess my advice is to always be a learner, and don't be afraid to change don't be afraid to be honest about that, because we're all on a journey, and the people who follow you personally, they want to see your journey. That's why we keep up with each other, right? So don't be afraid to be true to who you are and where your journey is.
Absolutely. Thanks, Laura, for that. I kind of keep going back to this. Always remember your why, and making sure you write that down from the very beginning, and not being afraid to have that your why change and grow too as you and your personal brand grows as well. Because there might be a lot of different avenues as you're exploring and adventuring when it comes to your industry, your niche, and as to how you want to represent yourself in that. There might be a lot of things when it comes to changing your vision as you go, and that's okay too. Just always remembering your purpose at the end of the day.
Yep. Your purpose, your uniqueness, your individuality. There's no right or wrong when creating a personal brand. So if you think, oh, I don't know if someone's going to respond to this, I don't know if, I'm the only one who likes it. I am sure that there's going to be somebody else out there who is going to like or comment or anything, reshare what you've shared, so just always remember your why, like Alex said, but bring your uniqueness and individuality to that brand, because someone somewhere will connect with you.
And that's so important, just to know and see people going through the same thing you are. I think that in general allows us to support and encourage one another.
Yep, absolutely. Great advice from all of you. So we're going to kind of transition and do a little more of a focus. Again, personal and professional branding can certainly align, but kind of focus more on professional right now. So Colleen, how can individuals strategically align their personal and professional brands while effectively utilizing social media to enhance those brands?
Yeah, I think this actually goes back to one of the questions asked earlier. So I'm glad we're discussing this a little bit further. I think that using social media can be really important to kind of enhance your brand and kind of launch you into a different capacity within your brand. So I think if you're not sure where to start off, maybe start, looking at influencers that you follow and kind of study their strategies and then make them your own in a way that you're comfortable, and that it feels authentic to you. So like defining your brand through your individuality, what you value, what contributions you've made. And then from there to kind of grow your network, you could find, initiatives, or other groups that align with your brand and start following. That way you're building your network there. Both, it could be Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever social media platform it is that you're using. And then just continuing to make connections with people that share those same interests, goals, values that you have. I definitely think the more you connect with people, obviously the bigger your brand will grow. You can all start sharing each other's content. You can get new ideas for your content and posts that still will align with your vision, but maybe, are a little bit more creative than something you would have thought of. But I definitely think and this could also go back to Gina's question, if you're not sure how to kind of mesh those two worlds together, start studying people, that influence you and see what their strategies are and kind of implement them in your own way, in a way that it makes you comfortable with what you're sharing and it feels authentic to you.
Yeah. Great points, Colleen. I want to elaborate a little bit on, what you just ended with. Be true to yourself, be authentic. In your professional brand, it's not so much about you telling them who you are, right? It's about what you can add and what you can learn from other colleagues in your industry, other companies, in your industry. So, I would say if you're an introvert, you don't care about branding, right? You're not going to seek that out. You're not going to try and bump your views up. That's okay. You don't have to. But I do think for a professional platform and to be findable when you are in need of a new role, it's important to still be active there. You do not have to post every day. You don't even have to post anything personal. Some people do. And I want to also be clear that there's no wrong way to do it. I think because each of us are different individuals, our approach is going to be individual to us. So yeah, if you're a high level IT guy, you like your little dark office where nobody talks to you, that's fine. What I would encourage those types to do is to really take the opportunity to start, like Colleen said, following companies that are relevant to you or your industry. Start following people who commonly talk about things that are relevant in your industry. Start looking for conversations that are happening surrounding, say IT world is coming up with a new software, a new thing that's going to be great. Those are important things that you can learn, and you can be a part of that conversation without having to be an extrovert, without having to put yourself out there. So I want to just emphasize there's no wrong way to do it. If you are an extrovert, if you are the type of person who puts it all out there for everybody to see, that's also great. Keep it true and authentic. So, if you post pictures of, your kids playing on your desk, great. You're going to connect with other people that way. But I think it's still important to maintain that professional conversation, that professional engagement. So, the advice to kind of be a sponge and learn and really dig into your industry makes you valuable, because you can engage in the conversation and add value to your network, which kind of is the whole point, right? You want to learn from your network and you want to add value to your network. So those are ways that you can still engage, no matter what your personality type is, no matter what your social media experience has been. Those are still ways that are great, and as individual as each of you.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I'm just going to add here to keep it short and sweet. For me, kind of going back what Colleen was saying with the values, I like to call them virtues, and like ask myself, what are virtues or values that I personally want to align to with my intentions every day when it comes to how I show it to my life, and actually writing them down so I can see them outside of my mind, and then look for those similar virtues or values in my industry, whether it be on social media, or for me, I like to be a little bit different, go outside beyond just the social media world and network in my community. That could look like either going to a flea market, getting involved in a block party, saying, how can I be able to maybe have a tent, or being able to just get the word out there, or just go around and just ask people questions when it comes to getting yourself out there into your industry, not just on the social media platform, looking for those virtues and values that you align to yourself and your brand as well.
Great point. Great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely. And Alex, I'm going to stick with you for this next question. I have two more questions for my experts here. So this next one, Alex, is it essential for professionals to have a niche within their industry for a strong brand, or can they kind of take a broader approach as well?
I would suggest it depends on what your brand is tailored to, what your why is, because that could be interflexible depending on the person, the individual, and their brand and their target audience. So for me, I realize I could be a very big thinker and I can expand very quick. So I need to be mindful of the opposite of what is my niche, and focus on kind of the smaller and slowly grow as I evolve. But there may be some people that want to take it the opposite side, where how can I expand on a bigger, grander scale, and then kind of maybe going more towards a niche as you grow and evolving your brand.
Yeah, so I definitely want to piggyback off of that some people don't have a choice, right, to have a niche market, a niche industry. I'm fortunate that I do. I have a pretty niche industry, and I'm able to keep up with, what's going on in my industry really easily. But some people don't have that option. And I think when you're in that situation, whatever your industry is, say you're an account manager, right? An account manager can be across any industry in the world. So when you're in a position like that, I would say become an expert in what you do. That is going to be the value you add if you don't have a niche market to add value to. So, give tips on, how to manage difficult customers, give tips on, best strategies for building relationships with a new manager. Come up with, be a learner, always be a learner so that you can give that knowledge to your network after. So that's my advice. If you don't have a niche market, which is fine, right? Not everybody has it. Some people recruit for literally every position across the board, maintenance people all the way up to executives. That's not niche. So when you're like that, if you're a recruiter, become an expert in recruiting in general, where it doesn't matter what you're recruiting for. Best practices for, screening tips, best practices for interview coaching, things like that. Think outside the box, because I feel like when we think and we get that niche advice, which is out there a lot, we get discouraged. So don't get discouraged. Open up and think outside of the box a little bit about ways that you still can add value.
Yep. And I think just going back to those just starting out in the beginning, having a niche will help you to establish a customer base or a following. But, I think it allows them to identify you as the expert for this particular thing, or your brand is the expert on this particular thing. And they know that, what you offer suits their needs. So, focusing on a smaller target audience might help you to concentrate on the quality of the information that you're sharing. And, then you can establish long-lasting relationships, which as you start to branch out, they'll continue to follow, continue to recommend you, and that gradual progression can happen.
Yep. 100%. All right. So my last thing that I want my experts to share for our viewers out here, I'm just going to have each of you share one common mistake that people might make when building their professional brand and how it can be avoided. So Lauren, want to kick us off for that?
I think the concept in general becomes a mental block for a lot of people. So I think reframing how you think about mistakes in your branding is really important. Give yourself grace. Even if you think it's a mistake, it might not be a mistake for somebody else, right? Like say we're on this live thing and, your dog or your cat comes walking across the back and you are mortified. That is not a mistake, because someone in that audience is going to love that. They're going to say, oh my gosh, what is your dog's name? Oh my gosh, give him a kiss for me, right? Like, don't worry, don't stress. It's not that important. The mistakes are not as important as the journey, right? So even if you see your mistake, make it into a journey.
Absolutely.
Great advice, Lauren. Alex, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just gonna say, to anybody who had me on their sales team watching this, they're probably gonna know what I'm gonna say. #fail forward. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and to be like, what can I do to be better? How can I improve? Not just to, your audience, but also most importantly to yourself. And not being afraid to go to that critique with that criticizer within your mind and bring it with curiosity. Meet it with curiosity and not being afraid to fail forward.
I love that. #fail forward.
I would say the biggest piece of advice I can give is to just be consistent, because if you're not, you can't dive right into it and, post for a few weeks and then stop, or answer followers and then stop, because what you're sharing may really be impacting someone in a really big way. And if you just disappear on them or you're not consistent, it could really affect them. So I think if you're going to start building a personal brand, you definitely need to be committed and stay consistent with what you're sharing and your follow-up.
Yep, 100%. Well, that is all we have for you today. So Colleen, Alex, Lauren, thank you all for being on Sound Off today. Please make sure you all connect with these fantastic experts here on LinkedIn. Their information is in the comments. Follow System One on LinkedIn as well, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We share a lot of great resume and interview tips, leadership insights, success stories, and more. And remember to join us every first and third Friday of the month For Sound Off with System 1, our next broadcast is going to be on Friday, December 1st at 2 p.m. Eastern, where we will be answering your interview and resume questions. So we would love for you to hop on at that time, drop some questions in the comments, and we will answer them live on the spot for you. So thank you again for joining us for Sound Off. We will see you next time.